What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. Also want to break down what's happening to the overall market, what's going on with the yields and the news affecting the markets, and what big data is coming out at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern time that's going to likely cause some high volatility. But before I break anything down about all this information, before I get into any more details, before I talk about why there's going to be a big move at 10 o'clock a.m. specifically, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. This offer ends in just about 2 weeks, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's happening to the market. So SPY is currently down 0.6%, starting to drop quite a bit, but this is just for the pre-market, and we're actually testing 424.6 again. Now we're at this support right here at 424.5. If we break below this, there is going to be a risk of 424. And if that fails us, then we could be forming a double bottom over here or retesting 422. Now, even though we look a little bearish right now, it's not the end of the world for the bulls because at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern time, we have some big data coming out that's going to have a big effect on the markets. Now, it looks like we have a head and shoulders here, so it is possible we drop a little bit more before there is a potential bounce. And the reason why I'm talking about a bounce is because we're not only at this key support, but you also have to remember that we have the JOLTS data coming out that could change the direction. Not a guarantee, though, so we'll just have to wait and see on this. But as a reminder, at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time or New York time, we have the JOLTS job openings report, with the JOLTS job quits, and the economic optimism report all coming out. If these things are as expected, aligned with the forecast, you guys can see them right here. We want 8.8 million job openings or something like that, or if it's even lower than expected, this could de-incentivize the Fed to be way more hawkish, and this could cause the market to actually bounce. So we'll see if that ends up being the case, or if this thing causes the market to continue to sink. Make sure you're prepared for the big move at 10 o'clock a.m. Now, when it comes to things to know about the market, September was very, very mixed, and going into October, we're still seeing like remnants of September as the 10-year Treasury yields are still up. There's news that came out that Microsoft CEO had to testify yesterday, accusing rival Google of monopolizing the online search network. There's also more news that came out about drug negotiations if you're interested in that. And that's pretty much it for the news affecting the markets for now. This is going to be very important, quite, significant. When it comes to the yields, they're at the highest in 16 years, which is why the market is, quite bearish so far. And we will see if there's any kind of like intraday churn or not. Anyways, for the market, SPY is looking quite bearish right now. It's continuing to sink a little bit. So we're going to be watching this 424 support. If that fails us and this head and shoulders plays out, we could see a little more downside to retest this 422 area. But then even if we do continue to drop, you want to watch 424 if that breaks or not. For key resistance, watch 426 and then 427.4, which is the 20 EMA. If we get above the 20 EMA at 427, we could turn bullish and start pushing for 430. But as of right now, we're looking kind of weak, and the market could slow down just a little bit. Now, even though the market could drop a little bit more, do not forget that at 10 o'clock a.m., the data comes out, and that could just switch the direction. So you want to be watching the supports very, very carefully. So watch these levels carefully. My gut is telling me that the market will drop a little bit more, but we might see some buyers step in and start pushing us back up after the data comes out. Now, if I'm wrong, we could just be retesting this low and continue sinking. I mean, it's looking a little unlikely, but it is a possibility. You just want to be open-minded nonetheless. But there is a good chance some buyers could step in thanks to the data coming out, so just be open-minded for that. As far as Tesla goes, this is looking a little weaker. We're just barely holding support at 248. We're going to be watching this very carefully. Now, I just wanted to add about Tesla. There are two possibilities on this thing. You could argue that there's a head and shoulders on the 4-hour time frame that could end up playing out, leading Tesla to start tanking to much lower levels, such as like 226 eventually. But in order for this to play out, we need to see Tesla break below 240. Also, Tesla's barely at 248. If this breaks, it's at support right now. If this breaks, there's a risk of Tesla coming down to like 245. If that fails us, then there's 242.5. Now, even if Tesla does come down to this 245 area, once the JOLTS job openings data comes out at 10 a.m., we could see Tesla try to balance with the markets. So just be open-minded to that because you can't always predict what's going to happen with the big move. Now, you could also argue that Tesla has on the smaller time frame an inverse head and shoulders, like just like this. So it looks a little bit more evident right here. And then Tesla could, drop a little bit more and then eventually try to bounce and start pushing back up to these high levels. That's another possibility, but we need to see Tesla break 250. So for this to play out, you want to see Tesla break 250. If that breaks, 252.5 has to break, and then 254. If we get above 254, then this is going to likely play out the inverse head and shoulders, and Tesla's going to be pushing to 260. If we fail and we end up breaking below 240, then this head and shoulders could play out, and we could see Tesla sink lower. As of right now, Tesla's looking kind of weak, so it looks like it could drop a little bit towards this mid 240 area, but there's always the possibility of it bouncing after the JOLTS job openings report comes out. It's just a possibility, so we'll have to wait and see if that ends up being the case. For Apple stock, looking kind of weak, starting to curl. So we're going to be watching this 172 support. If that fails us, you're going to be watching this imbalance right here at 171 flat. Now, off one of these levels, we could see a bounce depending on the data, as we still have an inverse head and shoulders on Apple that is valid. So it could still bounce, but it's going to depend heavily on what happens with the data coming out. That is going to be very important for it. For the QQQ, it's the same thing. We have a potential inverse head and shoulders that's still valid. If this thing breaks below 356, then there's a chance it could come very, very close to 353 again. If we end up bouncing off 356 or 358, the JOLTS job openings could trigger that, and there is potential for trying to get back above to 366. So right now it's looking a little weak, but the most likely possibility would be this thing coming down a little bit more than trying to bounce once the data comes out. I find that very probable looking at the current setup, but once again, we'll have to watch the levels first just for confirmation. Nvda is kind of cooling off a little bit, but overall it's still on a very strong trend. The downside we're seeing right now is nothing compared to the upside we saw previously. So Nvidia could get a back test of this 200 EMA at 442. Could kind of chop around the 440 area, then try to bounce off that. And it still could hold up quite nicely off that and start pushing for 460. That is still technically on the table, as Nvidia has some relative strength. Now, for the markets, I just wanted to add that the VIX, okay, when we look at the VIX, we have this head and shoulders that is still valid, right? We still have a head and shoulders. Now, could the VIX gap up, try to invalidate it? It's a possibility. But at the same time, if this ends up playing out and we see the VIX continuing to drop, it could mean that the market is due for the bounce, and the bounce is going to come soon. One thing that makes this a little bit less strong, this entire claim, is because of the dollar, but the dollar also has a bearish divergence developing, so the dollar might reject very soon, which means the market could bounce soon. So we're going to be watching this on the dollar. Does the dollar break below 107? If that's the case, this could help the bulls. Overall, the trend is still relatively strong, so we're just going to have to wait and see at this point. All right. So anyways, hopefully this video was helpful, guys. We're going to be watching both sides to see if the market ends up continuing to fall or not. Watch 424 on SPY very carefully. Let's see if this ends up breaking or not. And at the same time, do not forget, there's going to be a very big reaction to the job openings report. This is going to be one of the biggest ones we've had in a very long time. So make sure you're prepared for this and expect some high volatility once the data comes out. I do want to give you a hint, and that is that there is an increased probability that the market may bounce after the data comes out, but no guarantees. So we'll just have to see how it reacts, and we're going to be watching our levels and be as unbiased as possible. All right, so hopefully this video was helpful, guys. I want the best for all of you, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Thank you, and peace out.